afternoon. At the tone, Pacific Daylight Time will be 5, 4, and 30 seconds.
What? Oh my God, we're having an earthquake. Wait a minute. Hold on. Can you feel that? Yes, I sure can. Okay, this is interesting. There go the lights. Oh.
We are here at the Scotts Valley Library with Suzanne Williams. It is the 17th of August, 2019, and we're very excited to have her here talking about her experience during the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. So, Suzanne, how long have you lived in Santa Cruz?
40 years.
40 years?
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
All right, so are you from California originally?
No, I'm from more Northern Virginia than anywhere else. Washington, D.C. area, Arlington, McLean, Fairfax.
They don't have earthquakes over there.
No, they don't. But they did have one in Washington, D.C.
Really?
Yeah.
Recently?
I'm not sure how long ago, but it affected the Washington Monument. But I was born in Michigan, moved to Guam when I was 3 months old, and was the youngest of a Navy brat.
Ah, okay. Okay. So tell us what you were doing during the earthquake, or slightly before, slightly after.
I was working at my office as a travel agent in Scotts Valley.
Okay.
And the earth started to shake and started to rock and roll, and we left the building. One person was kind of trapped in the building, so we went back and got her. We left our purses, we left everything, just kind of ran out the door.
Was that your just like instinct or training or?
Instinct.
Instinct.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about after the earthquake. You know, I know that there were aftershocks.
There was lots of aftershocks.
What was going through your mind during that time?
Immediately after, there were lots of aftershocks, and so we were making sure that everybody was out of the building and okay and that kind of stuff, and didn't realize how much effect it had. I mean, things fell in the building and bookcases fell over and things like that. And the ceiling fell, I think, and it was a big mess, but we didn't realize that it was as devastating as it was.
Yeah. So in that moment, you didn't realize the significance of that event?
Not at all.
Was that your first earthquake, or?
No, but it was my first big one. Bigger than any I'd felt before.
Yeah.
You know, at first you're kind of excited, oh boy, there's an earthquake, and then it's like, this is a really big one.
Yeah. Did you experience anything emotionally, physically, or spiritually during the earthquake?
No.
No. Mostly just
shock
fear
and surprise. No, I wasn't that fearful.
Oh, you just knew that you wanted to get out of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about your colleagues or family?
They were pretty excited. They were very excited, more excited than I was.
Excited?
Well, I mean, nervous, upset, concerned, all those things.
So, did the earthquake impact your life at all?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I went home and found that we had substantial damage at home. Everything in the kitchen was on the kitchen floor. Syrup, honey, flour, it was a big mess.
Did you
and
live
all
in
the
Scotts
dishes.
Valley?
No, I lived in Santa Cruz on Wyndham Street. I bought my house in July of *89.
Oh.
It was my first house, and we had an earthquake in October. So housing prices were just skyrocketing. I mean, you were outbidding everybody, you know, it was like, oh, I gotta buy this house. And then the earthquake came and everything went plummeted. So we were upside down in the house for 10 years probably.
Wow.
Yeah. We did have earthquake insurance. I owned the house with a girlfriend, and we had earthquake insurance. We probably had $20,000 worth of damage. The ceilings fell, the interior fireplace fell. Big mess, you know, the foundation, the house shifted on the foundation, that kind of stuff. So we probably had $20,000 worth of damage, and the deductible was $18,000. And we had just bought the house.
Oh, God.
So we got $2,000 from insurance, which obviously was not enough to fix things up.
No.
So we got an SBA loan. And
did that help you get things taken care of?
yeah, yeah. And so my girlfriend had to pay my husband, not a lot, but when I got married in '95, she had to pay him to get out of the mortgage.
Oh, wow.
Because we were still upside down.
Yes.
Not a lot, but we were still didn't even break even.
Enough, yeah.
Yeah.
What about things like power, gas,
The power was out for seems like weeks, but I guess it was probably for a week. We were both scuba divers, and so all our buddies came over, and we all had to empty our freezers. So we had abalone and lobster and scallops and all kinds of fish. We had barbecues for days. It was wonderful. All our friends came over. We had to drink all the beer and cocktails and,
Sounds rough.
Yeah, it was really rough. So it was a lot of community, a lot of support from friends. People came over and spent the night just because they didn't want to leave us alone. And the guys were all coming to check on us because we were two single gals.
What about, did you try to go anywhere in town afterwards?
Yeah, we went and looked all around town. And we didn't go to the mall immediately. My housemate worked in, I think it was called the Flatiron Building. They had to evacuate, and there was a lot of damage to that building. It was eventually torn down.
Oh, hadn't heard of it.
So she had come down. It was the law office at the corner of, I don't remember what the streets are, but like where Chianti's is now.
So you talked about community immediately related to you, people coming over, checking on one another, making sure everyone's safe, just spending time together.
We spent a lot of time together.
Did you notice a shift in Santa Cruz as a community, in the greater community? Did you see anyone?
Yeah, everybody was checking on everybody. All the neighbors were taking care of each other. It was pretty nerve-wracking the first few days because the earth would shake regularly. Mm-hmm. And so every time it would shake, my housemate would panic because she had been in a building upstairs where she had to come down flights of stairs as the walls were coming down.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So she was panicked.
Were you able to stay in your home?
Yeah. We ended up staying in the living room. We all slept in the same room for several days. Yeah. And stayed in the living room and had barbecues outside. And the power was off. Everything was off for weeks.
How long did it take you to go back to work?
I don't remember. It was probably a week.
Okay. Yeah, things started to get back to
normal. We were cut off from everybody for a long time. Highway 17 was closed. The only way to get out was to go up Highway 1 or down through Watsonville.
Mm-hmm. Did you know that, now, 30 years later, we know that the epicenter was in nice Marks.
No, I didn't know it was that close.
Did it feel that close?
Well, I didn't know how big it was, so it felt big, but I didn't know how close we were to the epicenter.
Yeah. You mentioned being a Navy family, part of a Navy family.
Right.
Did you have any emergency preparedness background from that?
None at all.
Do you now?
Now I do.
Yeah.
I have an emergency pack in my outdoor shed, which has water and all the things you're supposed to have in it.
Right.
At that time, we didn't.
No. So some things have changed.
Yes, absolutely.
What's it like to reflect on your experience 30 years later? Clearly, you still live in Santa Cruz.
Right.
So you weren't scared away like some other folks were.
No.
What's it like 30 years later?
I actually, preparing for this interview, looked up some of the articles and things. I was trying to find photographs. I have a photo album of us having picnics and, you know, things like that. And we lived near the yacht harbor, so there were big cracks in the harbor, and having picnics out there, and just the different sights that we saw, and that kind of thing. I also have a T-shirt that says "I survived the earthquake." I'll have to find those things.
I think I remember hearing about those T-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking with somebody at the mall recently, and how that was one of the things that they wanted to put on display was that T-shirt, because apparently a lot of people got T-shirts like that.
Right.
And I survived the '89 earthquake. Is there anything else you want to elaborate on, or anything that you want to add that we didn't cover?
No, I don't think so. It really brought the community together. People were helping each other. The downtown was devastated. And of course, we were devastated to lose the Cooper House and the library, not the library, the bookstore. And there were tents downtown for those businesses for a long time. Mm-hmm. And it took a long time to rebuild.
It's funny that you mentioned the Cooper House, because I think virtually everyone I've interviewed so far talks about the Cooper House.
Yeah.
Did you have memories?
Fond memories of the Cooper House. Listening to music, sitting outside. It was like the center of town. And so was the bookshop.
Yeah, yeah. How did you feel when they decided to tear it down?
Devastated.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, all the memories. You know, what are they going to put there instead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the changes that Santa Cruz has gone through since then?
I think it's done a good job of rebuilding. It took a long time. There was that big hole in the front of the mall for forever. Mm-hmm. Lulu Carpenter's, I think it's still the same. That's about all. It's still, I mean, there's still buildings further down,
sure.
But at the top of the mall, that's all. It's pretty much the same.
So you feel pretty okay about the overall experience?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we were sad to lose people.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was quite an experience, and it was a bonding experience, and more of a positive experience for me than a negative one. Although, you know, damage to the house and the financial hardships and all of that were difficult.
Yeah.
But,
why positive? You say it was a positive experience. What leads you towards that?
Getting closer to people, bonding, sharing the experience. It's something that you remember for a lifetime.
Yeah. Does it feel like it was yesterday? Or does it feel like it was 30 years ago?
No, it feels like it was about 10 years ago.
It's a good in-between.
Yeah.
Good in-between. Cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Yeah, absolutely.